27,000 feet above the clouds, a lone fighter pilot navigates the thin, freezing air. Below, the ground seems distant, yet every second counts. The roar of engines fills the sky as machines of steel and fire clash in a struggle that will define the skies. This is a story of power, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of mastery in the air. The turning point that began changing enemy perceptions occurred on June 26, 1943, over Lazo, France. Second Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson of the 61st Fighter Squadron faced an encounter that would become legendary. Johnson's formation of 48 P-47s was returning from escort duty when they were ambushed by 16 Focke-Wulf 190s from JG-26, led by headman Wilhelm Ferdinand Galland, younger brother of the famous Adolf Galland. The Germans executed a perfect attack, diving from the sun with overwhelming speed advantage. Johnson, flying at the rear, was caught in the crossfire. 2,120 mm cannon shells tore through his aircraft. The canopy shattered, hydraulic fluid sprayed into the cockpit, and fire erupted behind the instrument panel. Wounded and trapped, Johnson tried to bail out, only to find the canopy jammed by a shell. At 27,000 feet, he faced a dying aircraft. But what happened next defied every expectation. Despite almost zero forward visibility, a barely functioning engine, and controls responding intermittently, Johnson managed to level the aircraft and point it toward England. The P-47 continued flying with damage that would have reduced any other fighter to falling debris. A lone Focke-Wulf 190 attempted to finish him off. The German pilot, after emptying cannon and machine gun fire into the crippled Thunderbolt, could only stare in disbelief. Johnson's aircraft survived shot after shot, landing at Manston with its engine failing. Ground crews counted over 200 bullet holes. The survival of Johnson's aircraft sent shockwaves through both air forces. American engineers realized they had underestimated the aircraft they had built. German intelligence initially refused to believe the reports, but multiple testimonies confirmed the impossible. The Thunderbolt had taken everything the enemy's best fighter could deliver and survived. By July 1943, American pilots had learned to exploit the P-47's true strengths. Lieutenant Colonel Hubert Zenner of the 56th Fighter Group discovered the secret. Don't turn with the enemy. Don't climb at low altitude. Use your weight. Use your power. Use your guns. In a dive, nothing could catch a Thunderbolt. From 30,000 feet, it could reach 550 miles per hour, faster than any German fighter, even in a vertical dive. Captain Walker Bard Mahurin developed the boom and zoom tactic, also known as the Thunderbolt turkey shoot. Instead of dogfighting, P-47s would climb to 30,000 feet and dive on unsuspecting enemies, combining speed, firepower, and tactical advantage in a deadly strike. During these dives, the heavy machine guns created an impenetrable zone of destruction. Enemy aircraft didn't just fall, they disintegrated. The first glimpse of American firepower left German pilots stunned. The August 17, 1943, dual raid on Schweinfurt and Regensburg showcased this devastating potential. P-47S intercepted heavily armed Messerschmitt Bf-110S, their concentrated fire ripping wings from fuselages and turning the enemy into burning debris in seconds. Each P-47 carried 3,400 rounds, intersecting in a convergence zone, delivering a stream of destruction previously unimaginable. Lieutenant Colonel Francis Gabby Gabreski described the effect. When you hit them with all 8 guns, they don't just go down, they explode. The pilot never knew what hit him. By September 1943, German pilots recognized the P-47's high-altitude dominance. Its turbocharged engine maintained power to 30,000 feet, while German fighters struggled above 25,000 feet. Experienced aces encountered what would become a recurring nightmare, diving Thunderbolts with unmatched firepower and resilience. Rise and tactical revolution. Robert Johnson, now an experienced combat pilot on his way to ace status, spotted Hans Philip's Focke-Wulf at 31,000 feet. Johnson opened fire from 300 yards with a 30-degree deflection. Strikes were observed along the entire fuselage. The enemy aircraft exploded. No parachute was seen. Philip's death sent shockwaves through the German forces. If one of their most experienced pilots, who had survived over 500 missions, could not survive against the Thunderbolt, what chance did the average pilot have? The German High Command immediately ordered a study of the P-47's capabilities. The report delivered to Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring in November 1943 was clear. The Thunderbolt's service ceiling exceeded 42,000 feet, its dive speed approached the sound barrier, its armor protected the pilot, and its rugged construction could absorb the damage that would destroy 3 conventional fighters. In January 1944, the new P-47D-22 arrived in England. Featuring Hamilton standard hydraulic propellers with 13-foot diameter broad blades, the aircraft's climb rate increased dramatically. Where previous models climbed at 2,200 feet per minute, the new variant reached 3,000 feet per minute. Acceleration in level flight improved, giving pilots superior energy management. In February 1944, veteran pilot Hedman Heinz Knoke wrote in his diary after encountering the new models, "The American planes have learned to climb. Our expected advantage was gone. They climbed with us and turned above us. These are no longer machines to laugh at." The paddle blade propeller didn't just improve performance, it created the Thunderbolt's iconic, thunderous roar. German ground troops reported identifying approaching P-47s by sound alone. That deep, threatening rumble meant death from above, Donnerschlag, thunderclap. By March 1944, P-47s equipped with external fuel tanks could escort bombers deep into Germany. After dropping the tanks, Thunderbolt pilots could immediately engage the enemy on equal footing. German pilots had to risk attacking the bombers through this lethal screen, developing a grudging respect and even fear for the big American fighters. Major G.A. Rall, one of Germany's top aces, recalled an encounter on March 6, 1944. "We saw thick silhouettes above us. Someone laughed and said, 'Here come the flying pigs.' 30 seconds later, nobody was laughing. They came down like an avalanche. The first pass destroyed 3 of our fighters. Their continuous streams of fire made it impossible to survive." Thunderbolt dominance. The escort missions revealed another P-47 advantage: endurance. While German fighters burned fuel quickly at maximum power, the big American radial engines cruised efficiently at high altitudes. Thunderbolts could remain with bombers for hours, rotating cover while maintaining enough fuel for combat and return. As P-51 Mustangs began to take over long-range escort duties in spring 1944, P-47 units increasingly shifted to ground attack missions. Here, the Thunderbolt became the most feared aircraft in the German arsenal. The heavy machine guns, combined with armor-piercing incendiary rounds, could obliterate vehicles in seconds. A short burst could send hundreds of projectiles into a truck-sized target. With bombs and rockets added, the P-47 became a true multi-role monster. The D-25 variant could carry 2 1,000-pound bombs under the wings and a 500-pound bomb under the fuselage, rivaling early war medium bombers. Later variants added 10 5-inch high-velocity rockets under the wings, each equivalent to a 105mm artillery shell. During the Normandy campaign, German units faced the P-47s head-on. Oberstleutnant Hans von Luck reported, "They came in low, so low you could see the pilots' faces. Engines roaring, rockets screaming, and the heavy guns pounding. Entire columns of our trucks vanished. It was devastating. The psychological impact on our men was immense. On D-Day, over 500 P-47s provided air cover, forming an impenetrable shield over the beaches. German fighters attempting to reach the landing zones were massacred. Oberleutnant Wolfgang Fischer, one of only 3 pilots to reach the beaches, recalled, "The sky belonged to the Americans. Thunderbolts were everywhere, stacked from sea level to 30,000 feet. Our guns turned our fighters into aluminum rain. The results were staggering. In June alone, the 9th Air Force P-47s destroyed 651 locomotives, 3,847 trucks, 512 tanks and armored vehicles, and 4,553 horse-drawn vehicles. The Wehrmacht was forced to move only at night, hampering their response to the Allied advance. Even in the Pacific, the Thunderbolt excelled. The 348th Fighter Group in New Guinea adapted the P-47 to long-range missions, exploiting its durability and firepower. Colonel Neil Kirby, leading 4 P-47s on October 11, 1943, shot down 6 Japanese aircraft in a single mission, earning the Medal of Honor. Japanese ace Saburo Sakai described them as monsters. Our 20mm rounds could not stop them. They absorbed dozens of hits and kept coming. Their return fire was terrifying. The P-47N, with wet wings holding 93 gallons of fuel each, extended the range to 2,350 miles, escorting B-29s to Japan. Against German jet fighters, the P-47M proved effective, intercepting Messerschmitt Me-262S during takeoff, landing, and high-speed dives. On November 27, 1944, Lieutenant Colonel John C. Meare shot down a Me-262 by diving from 28,000 feet, reaching nearly 500 miles per hour, demonstrating the P-47's adaptability. Lieutenant Colonel John C. Meare's report highlighted a key lesson: firepower over speed. Jets were faster, but they couldn't take the punishment. One well-aimed burst from a P-47's guns, and even the most advanced enemy aircraft could be destroyed. The ultimate demonstration of American industrial capacity came during Operation Bodenplatte on January 1, 1945. Nearly 900 German fighters launched surprise attacks on Allied airfields across Belgium and the Netherlands. At WWII Airfield, home to the 365th Fighter Group, the attack initially succeeded, destroying 22 Thunderbolts on the ground. A captured German pilot mocked the American response, but Major George Brooking's legendary reply silenced him. "By tomorrow, we'll have 40 new ones." How long will it take you to replace your pilots? Within 48 hours, brand new P-47 D-40S filled the flight line. Flown in from England, the Luftwaffe lost 271 aircraft and 213 pilots that day, many of them irreplaceable instructors and squadron leaders. The Americans lost 134 aircraft total, all replaced within a week. By the end of the war, Republic Aviation had produced 15,683 P-47s, more than any other U.S. fighter. At peak production, the Farmingdale factory completed 1 Thunderbolt per hour, around the clock. The Evansville plant in Indiana, built from farmland in 1942, was producing 500 aircraft per month by 1944. Each P-47D required 65,000 parts, 8 miles of wiring, 2,000 pounds of aluminum, and 300 pounds of rubber. The engine alone contained 2,400 components machined to tolerances of thousandths of an inch. Even more impressive was pilot training. By 1944, the US graduated 30,000 pilots annually, more than Germany had trained in the entire war. Each P-47 pilot received at least 400 flight hours before combat, including 100 hours in advanced fighters. German pilots, in contrast, often entered combat with less than 100 hours total. This training advantage showed in battle. American pilots knew formation flying, instrument navigation, gunnery, and tactics. They had practiced against captured German aircraft, understanding the enemy's strengths and weaknesses. Lieutenant Eugene Roberts, arriving in England in 1944, said, "I had 420 hours, including 75 in the P-47. I knew exactly what to do. The German pilot I faced couldn't have had half my experience. It wasn't a fair fight." Even former German pilots acknowledged the P-47's dominance. In March 1945, Oberstleutnant Josef Priller, who had mocked the Thunderbolt 2 years earlier, stated, "The Thunderbolt is the best fighter bomber ever built. Its firepower is unmatched. It carries bombs like a medium bomber, fires rockets like artillery, and fights like a fighter when needed. But beyond the machine, it represents unlimited American production and training." We laughed at them in 1943. We're not laughing now. By April 1945, the Luftwaffe existed largely on paper. Fuel shortages grounded most aircraft, experienced pilots were dead or captured, and airfields were destroyed. Even when aircraft were available, attacking meant facing P-47 formations, controlling every altitude from ground level to 40,000 feet. The Thunderbolt's final chapters revealed its lasting impact on both war and memory. Its firepower, durability, and sheer numbers transformed the air war. The P-47's 8 synchronized Browning .50 caliber machine guns combined with bombs and rockets created a weapon unmatched in versatility. German pilots who once mocked the aircraft came to fear it. Veterans spoke of Jabbo fever, a psychological reaction to spotting thunderbolts in the sky. Even pilots who had faced Spitfires, Hurricanes, and Soviet Yaks experienced intense fear before encountering P-47s. Ground troops reported that the approaching roar of the Thunderbolt meant immediate danger. Survival depended on taking cover quickly. By the end of the war, the P-47 had rewritten the rules of aerial combat. In Europe, Thunderbolts destroyed 3,752 German aircraft in the air and 3,315 on the ground. They eliminated 86,000 railway cars, 9,000 locomotives, 6,000 armored vehicles, 68,000 trucks, and 60,000 horse-drawn vehicles. In the Pacific, they downed 697 Japanese aircraft in combat, destroyed 150 on the ground, and eliminated over 1,500 vehicles and 150 locomotives. The 9th Air Force alone, equipped mainly with P-47s, flew 213,873 combat sorties, dropped 120,000 tons of bombs, fired 135 million rounds of ammunition, and launched 60,000 rockets. The Thunderbolt achieved a 4.6 to 1 kill ratio while maintaining the lowest loss rate of any Allied fighter-bomber unit. Behind these numbers was the human cost. The Luftwaffe lost roughly 28,000 pilots against Western Allied forces, many to concentrated P-47 fire. Each pilot represented years of training Germany could not replace. By war's end, the average German pilot had fewer than 30 hours of combat experience, while the average P-47 pilot had over 200. Captured German intelligence reports documented the changing perception of the P-47, April 1943. Large, unmaneuverable fighter. Inferior to German types, except dive speed, minimal threat. December 1943. Exceptional high-altitude performance, extreme strength, increasing firepower. Significant threat above 25,000 feet. June 1944. Dominant fighter-bomber. Firepower devastating against all targets. Structural strength made shoot-down difficult. Critical threat at all altitudes. March 1945. Best fighter-bomber of the war. Firepower, durability, and performance unmatched. Pilot quality exceptional. Engagements unsurvivable. In 1985, at a reunion of German and American pilots in Phoenix, Arizona, General Adolf Galland reflected on the P-47. "We made a terrible mistake in 1943. We laughed at this big, heavy fighter. The Americans didn't build a European fighter. They built an American one, strong, powerful, and able to endure." In a war of attrition, the plane that could take punishment and deliver devastating firepower would win. They were right. Flying a captured P-47 after the war, he realized the truth. Its engine was powerful, its controls precise, and the cockpit comfortable. The Thunderbolt was a pilot's aircraft, armored and lethal. It symbolized American industrial philosophy, overwhelming force, precision engineering, and unlimited resources. Even after decades, the sound of its guns, the so-called Roosevelt's piano, haunted veterans. Once heard, it left a lasting impression. The P-47 did not just defeat the Luftwaffe, it reshaped air combat and symbolized the combination of human courage and industrial might. This story is more than history. It's a reminder of what can be achieved through ingenuity, perseverance, and the courage to innovate. The Thunderbolt's legacy is not just in victories or statistics, it's in the enduring inspiration it provides to every pilot, engineer, and dreamer. If you've been captivated by this journey through the skies with the P-47 Thunderbolt, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that bring history alive. The skies are vast, but the stories are waiting.